Hi, my name is Mr. Trokin, and I'm the Supervisor of Social Studies for grades 6 through 12 with the Roxbury School District. And for my book talk, I'd like to discuss the recently published title, A Long Petal of the Sea, by Isabel Allende. And I've got a jacketless book right here, but I'll show you the cover art in just a moment. As you can see on the cover of the book, a nice seafaring motif here, and the title, A Long Petal of the Sea, which the title itself is actually a metaphor for the country of Chile, where much of the story takes place. And in the book, the main protagonists of the story, the Dalmau Bruguera family, find themselves in Chile after being forced into exile following a civil war in their home country of Spain in the late 1930s. So the book takes place mainly in Chile, but the family has an identity that goes back to Spain, and it also will find itself exiled again to yet another country. So I wanted to really kind of focus in on this theme of identity here through a short passage from the book told through the lens of the son of the family, Marcel, who at the age of 10 has really developed a distinctly Chilean identity. Short passage taken from page 195 of A Long Petal of the Sea. On Marcel Dalmau Bruguera's 10th birthday, a letter arrived from his grandmother, Karma. It had traveled halfway around the world before reaching its recipient. His parents had told him about her, but he had never seen a photograph, and the stories about his legendary family in Spain were so distant from his reality that he put them in the same category as the make-believe horror and fantasy novels he collected. At that age, he refused to speak Catalan, only doing so with old Jordi Molina at the Winnipeg Tavern. With the rest of humanity, he spoke Spanish with an exaggerated Chilean accent and vulgar expressions that often earned him a resounding slap from his mother. Apart from this oddity, he was an ideal child, taking charge of his schooling, transport, clothes, also often his food, and even making his own appointments at the dentist and barber. He was like an adult in short trousers. Really a lot to unpack in this rather short passage, but really when you get to it, this is a passage that indicates that young Marcel has an identity that is distinctly Chilean at this point, despite the fact that his family has deep historical roots to the country of Spain, highlighted here in red, the country which they fled following that country's civil war in the late 1930s. And you could see pictured over here another map of Spain where you have a close-up of the country that demonstrates that the country is actually a multilingual country, a country of many languages. And the family actually hails from the Catalan-speaking section of Spain, which is located on the east coast along the Mediterranean. And following the Civil War, the family fled into France, where Marcel himself was born, and shortly thereafter they took a ship across the Atlantic Ocean, and you can see it over here on this hemispheric map. They went across the Atlantic Ocean, and they went so far that you can't even see it on the map. They went to Chile, which is on the other side of South America, of which you could really only see the northwestern tip of on this hemispheric map. And so, of course, in this long, thin strip of a country known as Chile, where most of the story takes place, Marcel develops a distinctly Chilean identity. And despite that fact, the family is not able to completely settle down after some years. Chile itself is taken under a military dictatorship, and the family once again has to flee and go into exile, this time to Venezuela, highlighted in red over here. So a little bit more close to Chile, but once again in exile. And throughout the story, you find that identity, and identity as it is linked to a specific country, is going to be paramount for the protagonists of the story. And I think certainly if you're looking at some of the social studies resources that were provided with the summer learning, you could probably relate this to the stories of both George Takei and Fred Korematsu, people that were born to Japanese American families in the 1930s and ultimately found themselves during the Second World War forcibly relocated from their homes in coastal California to internment camps inland in the United States. And ultimately, Korematsu's case took up issue with the United States government as to the unfairness of the treatment of Japanese Americans during the war, and Takei himself reflects on those difficulties and how they created sort of an identity conflict for him as an American of Japanese descent. So thank you, and I conclude here.